Hello and welcome to the latest episode of the Low Budget Review Show. I am your host, Eric Smith, and today I am talking about The Taker, which actually contains two original Creepshow novellas by Elley Cooper. This is a scholastic book, and I'll tell you right up front, I wasn't sure if I was going to review this or not. Not because of any bad things about the book, but simply because this is I think a middle grade book, which I did not know when I ordered it. It is based on or inspired by Creepshow, which I've not seen the series on Shudder, but I believe the movies are rated R. So I was surprised to find out that these were middle grade. I don't have kids. Middle grade is like 5 years old. No, I'm kidding. I know it's not 5 years old. So there's two stories in here, and it is absolutely middle grade. The main characters in both are in what I would call junior high school. Seventh and eighth grade was junior high for me. Although in one of the stories, I think they specifically say middle school is sixth, seventh, and eighth. So, I know things vary depending on where you are. But anyway, I did decide to go ahead and review this. Maybe some of you out there have young kids and you want to get them into horror. You know what? I think you could start with this. So the first story is called The Taker. Let me double check. Yes, it is called The Taker. Now, you've got sort of a title illustration, and then at the very beginning of each story, there's a comic book page to stick with the Creepshow aesthetic. So in The Taker, B, middle grade schoolgirl, and her family move into a new house. She's going to be starting at a new school, and she's taken years and years of lessons, dance class, whatever. So she tries out for the dance team. She makes it, so she makes some new friends, and it turns out at the same time that I'm not giving anything away when I tell you there is a ghost living in her room. I use the term living loosely. So she sort of becomes friends with this ghost as well as having friends in her middle school. But it's a Creepshow story, so things don't go well for everybody. And then, so before I get into the review part, then we have, let's see what this one is called, Pretty Polly. So there's your title illustration and your comic book page. And in this one, Casey is a middle school. I've never said middle school so much in all of my life. Middle school student. His parents are divorced. He lives with his mother. The story starts. He's waiting for his father to take him to the zoo, but his father is just a shitheel. Doesn't show up. Always making excuses. And so we learn about Casey, and his biggest wish is that he could have. He loves animals. He's got pet frogs and a couple pet rats. But what he really wants is an African. I'm going to look at the back just to make sure. Yes, an African gray parrot, which I guess are super smart, super expensive. But he actually sees an ad for a free one to a good home, and so he ends up with this African gray parrot named Dorian Gray that may be smarter than anyone suspects, and maybe too smart for Casey's own good. So there you go. Those are a nutshell for both stories. So again, I'm not the target audience. I'm an old man. I'm not, despite what some of you may think, in middle school, despite how I may act sometimes. But you know what? These were enjoyable stories. There was a point when I was reading the second one that I was afraid it would be too similar to the first story. There is one bit of an element that's similar, but then it goes off in its own direction. So They're both well written. I was too old for the Goosebumps craze. Um, I think if I'd been the right age when those came out, and I had been reading those when it was age appropriate, I'd probably still have those or want those and love those. But since I was too old for it, I was reading different things, I never got into it. So I can't actually make the comparison to Goosebumps because I've never read any. Well, I don't think I've read any. But I do think that I think this is good for a younger kid. It's a nice introduction to horror. It's not graphic, but it's not overly scary. But there are some spooky parts, and it is Creepshow, so the stories do sort of follow the Creepshow story pattern. And I enjoyed them. They were fine. There's actually a second book. I ordered both of these at the same time. The other one, I can't quite make out the name, but it's also two novellas, the same author. And I like that the author's initials are EC, who, of course, was the publisher of Tales from the Crypt and Haunts of Horror and just classic horror comic books back in the day. Just a little coincidence there. But let's see. Is there anything I want to say about the stories themselves? The Taker was fine. Had its twists and turns, as these stories do. I do like the way it ended. I did like the parrot in Pretty Polly as a character more than the ghost, whose name I don't recall off the top of my head, in The Taker. The human characters are all fine, but the parrot, I think, was my favorite character. That parrot was very, very interesting. So if you're like me, an old person who doesn't mind reading stuff that's written for young kids, give it a try. Or read it first before giving it to your young kids, just to be sure that it's okay. Again, I'm not a parent. I could be completely wrong. I don't think so, though. I'm not. It's not like I'm telling you to give your kids Header by Edward Lee. Again, there's no sex. There's the tiniest bit of violence. There's nothing graphic, and I don't think the scares are too scary. So yeah, it was fun, and I decided, what the hell, I'm going to go ahead and review this, even though I'm pretty sure my audience is all a bunch of adults, but you might have kids. I don't know. I know some of you do have kids. I don't know what their ages are. Maybe your kids have kids that this would be age appropriate for. If more of these come out, I'll pick them up. I enjoyed it. Not my favorite, but again, I'm not the target audience. But anyway, all right. I feel like, as usual, I'm starting to ramble. So that's The Taker by Elley Cooper, a Scholastic book. Cartel Entertainment LLC, published by Scholastic Inc. I don't know. Do you really need that information? But it's Elley Cooper is the author. You got the Creepshow guy there. The most fun you'll ever have being scared, it says down there in the corner. It was fun. It was fine. Get your kids started on horror as early as possible. Let them read The Taker. That's all I've got for you. So if you have any comments, questions, or corrections, please put them in the comments below. Comments are open for spoilers. Just post spoiler warning. We try to be polite here at the Low Budget Review Show. Please like, share, and subscribe. All those YouTube things, you know the deal. If you'd care to follow me on other social media, my Twitter is @Ronin5757. My Instagram is EricSmith5757. That's Eric with a K, ERIKSMITH 5757. That's all I've got for you. This has been the Low Budget Review Show. I have been Eric Smith, and until next time, read more books.